You're listening to the Bold Apologia podcast. Here you can expect to find real conversation and dialogue centralized around the purpose for sharing the hope of Jesus Christ in light of theology, apologetics, and culture. We hope and believe this episode will add confidence to your faith by equipping you with boldness to share the good news of the gospel. And now, your host, Adam Parker.
Hello, Bold Apologia podcast listeners, and welcome back to the podcast. You know, we've been walking through what it means to sanctify Christ as Lord, not just in isolated moments, but in every layer of who we are. In our last two episodes, we've been building something intentionally. First, we talked about sanctifying Christ as Lord in our desires. And what we saw is that sin doesn't begin outwardly, it begins inwardly. It begins with our desires. What you want shapes what you pursue. Then, in our last episode, we took a step further and we talked about habits, because desires do not stay internal. They are practiced. And when they are practiced repeatedly, they become habits, patterns, rhythms, the daily structure of your life. So we trace that progression. Desires shape habits. But now we arrive at the next layer, because habits don't just sit there. They move, they direct you, they take you somewhere. And that brings us to today's focus, your walk. Let's read our primary text, Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. That word, walk, is one of the most important metaphors in all of Scripture for the Christian life. Because Christianity isn't static. It is movement. It's a direction. It's a way of life. And here's the key truth for that today. You are always walking somewhere. You are never spiritually standing still. You're either walking toward Christ or you're drifting away from Christ. Now, connect this back to where we've been. Desire shapes habits. Habits shape your walk. Your walk is the visible direction of your life. It is the sum of your daily patterns lived out over time. So, if your desires are disordered, your habits will reflect that. And if your habits are misaligned, your walk will take you somewhere you had never intended to go. That is why this matters so much. Because people often evaluate their lives based on intentions, but Scripture evaluates your life based on your walk. Not what you say you believe, not what you say you want, but how you live. Let's define what we mean by walk. Your walk is your consistent way of living. It's your lifestyle. It's how you think, speak, act, respond, and relate to God and others on a daily basis. It's not a moment, it's a pattern. And Scripture speaks about this constantly. Walk in the Spirit, walk in the light, walk in a manner worthy of the calling. Walk as children of God. And why? Because your walk reveals your allegiance. Now look again at the text. Walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Notice what Paul does here. He doesn't say, try harder not to sin. He doesn't say, focus on resisting the flesh. He says, walk by the Spirit. In other words, the solution to sinful living isn't just resistance. It's redirection. Because you can't simply stop walking. You have to walk somewhere. And if you're not walking by the Spirit, you're going to default to walking in the flesh. This brings us to a critical reality. There are only two paths here, guys. Not three, not a middle ground, not a neutral zone. You are either walking by the Spirit or you're walking according to the flesh. And Paul expands on this in Galatians chapter 5. The desires of the flesh are against the Spirit, and the desires of the Spirit are against the flesh. These are opposed to each other. So your walk isn't just a casual preference, it is a spiritual trajectory. Now, let's make this very practical here. What does it look like when Christ isn't Lord of your walk? Well, it looks like inconsistency. You have moments with God, but you have no direction with God. You have conviction, but no sustained obedience. You have habits that pull you in one direction and a heart that says it wants something else. So your life becomes fragmented, divided, pulled in two directions, and eventually your walk reveals what is really winning. Now, let's flip it. What does it look like when Christ is Lord of your walk? It means your life has direction, not perfection, direction. You are moving toward Him. Your habits are aligned with Him. Your desires are being shaped by Him. And over time, your life reflects Him. This is what sanctification actually looks like, everybody. Not sinless perfection, but Spirit-directed progression. Now, here's something that you need to understand. Your walk isn't determined by big moments. It's determined by daily steps, small decisions, ordinary obedience, the things that feel insignificant in the moment, but over time they define your direction. Folks, this is why consistency matters more than intensity, because anyone can have a spiritual high. Anyone can have a powerful moment, but your walk is revealed in what you do the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and we go on. So, how do we sanctify Christ as Lord in our walk? Well, we need to get practical here. First, you must choose your direction daily. Walking is intentional. You don't accidentally walk by the Spirit. You choose it every day. You wake up and you decide, am I going to follow the flesh or submit to the Spirit? This isn't a one-time decision. It is a daily surrender. 2, you must align your habits with your direction. Your walk will never outrun your habits. If your habits are feeding the flesh, your walk will follow. If your habits are feeding the Spirit, your walk will follow. So this connects directly to last week. If Christ isn't Lord of your habits, He's not going to be Lord of your walk, because your walk is built on your habits. 3rd, you must stay in step with the Spirit. Later in Galatians 5, Paul says this, keep in step with the Spirit. That language is powerful. It implies attentiveness, sensitivity, responsiveness. You're not just moving randomly, you're walking with someone. This means you're listening, you're responding, you're adjusting, you're allowing the Spirit to lead your steps. And 4, you must deal with drift quickly. No one wakes up one day and suddenly walks away from God. It happens gradually through drift, small compromises, small shifts, small steps in the wrong direction, and over time, those steps add up. So you have to be vigilant. When you notice drift, you address it immediately. You don't wait, you don't ignore it, you have to correct the course. And 5, you must measure your life by direction, not just desire. Folks, this is huge. Many people think they're doing well because they have good desires. But desire alone isn't the measure. Direction is. Where is your life going? What trajectory are you on? Because over time, your direction will define your destination. Now, let's bring this back to the heart of the series. To sanctify Christ as Lord means to set Him apart as supreme, not just in your theology, though that's important, not just in your desires, though that's important, not just in your habits, yes, that's important too, but in your direction. Christ is Lord of your walk. He determines where your life is going. He determines the path you are on. He determines the way you live. And this is where things become very honest, everyone, because your walk is visible. It can't be hidden. You can say the right things. You can claim the right beliefs, but your walk will eventually reveal the truth. It will show who is really Lord. So let me ask you this directly. Where are you walking? Not where do you want to be? Not where you used to be. Right now. What direction is your life moving? Is it toward the Spirit or toward the flesh? Is it toward Christ or toward compromise? Because you are going somewhere, and the path that you're on will take you there. So folks, let me leave you with this. Your life isn't defined by one moment. It's defined by your walk, step by step by step, day by day by day, choice by choice by choice, and every step is shaping your future. So don't just think about your desires. Don't just evaluate your habits. Look at your direction and bring it under the lordship of Christ. Because sanctifying Christ as Lord in your walk means this: you don't just acknowledge him, you follow him. You don't just believe in him, you move with him. You don't just honor him in moments, you walk with him daily. And when your walk is aligned with him, your life is going to follow. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Sanctify Christ as Lord series on the Bold Apologia podcast. If this podcast blessed you, do me a favor. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. I know that this podcast is full of rich wisdom that we all need to apply to our lives. So if someone comes to mind, send it over to them. Again, thanks for listening to this episode. God bless you, and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Bold Apologia podcast. To find out more about Adam Parker's projects, writings, or guest podcast episodes, visit his website at www.boldapologia.com. There you can get more information regarding Adam's works, contact him to be a guest on your show, or leave him a comment for Q&A. Until next time, thank you, and God bless.